Hey, my name is Alicia. I'm 21 years old. I use she, her, and they, them pronouns. And at my heart, I am a maker. I work as a product manager, which means that I spend a lot of time coordinating with people who write code, people who design software and draw the pictures of what we're going to build, and businesses and owners and people who provide funding to help decide what software and websites and apps we're going to build, how we're going to build them, and when they're going to be launched. I do know how to code. I do not come in contact with code at all at work. So I first started learning how to code when I was probably 12 years old, and I was a notoriously stubborn kid. It's really kind of awful sometimes. And I woke up one day and I decided that I needed to have a website. I don't know what it was, but I just really needed to have my very own website. And so I went and I was searching on this old computer to try and find a website builder. But being stubborn, nothing was doing what I wanted it to or how I wanted it to look. So I sat down and I Googled how are websites built. And I just kind of went from there, one Google search at a time, figuring out, first, how do I draw a square on the page? How do I just make text show up? Then how can I change the colors of that? And it got more complex as I went, really just one Google search at a time until I had something that I was happy with and proud of. So after I started learning to teach myself how to code when I was in middle school, I got picked up by our school's yearbook staff because they knew I was into computers and Photoshop. And that's when I really started to understand this idea of making a product and making something from start to end. And I really fell in love with it at that point. So that was something that stuck with me. It was a really positive experience. I was able to build lots of connections and find mentors and friends who had that same kind of passion. And all of those people helped to drive me to the right classes and the right people as I went into high school. Now, in high school is where I got my first job in technology. I started doing some freelancing and I got to build my first website for somebody else. And it was just because somebody knew somebody who needed a website and connected them back to me. So it was a really cool experience of kind of having that network of friends and people you trust. And I leaned into that for a couple of years until I went into technology education when I was about 14 or 15, I think. I was helping to teach younger kids how to code, sharing my experience, just kind of getting started with computers and technology, not even just with code, but just how to use a computer and how to navigate technology in the super quickly growing world that we're in. So that kind of snowballed from teaching to then writing the curriculum to doing more design, working on their website, working on some of the marketing materials. From that point, I did a couple of internships. Again, just reaching out to people I knew in my community, staying as connected to others as I could. And one thing came after another. I had my first full-time job when I was 17, again, through connections, just, making sure I was being myself, talking with others, being really passionate and excited about what I do every single day. That led to me graduating high school a little bit early, gave me some more time to work, save up some money. Then I went to college, and because of the planning and again, that really strong network, being able to kind of ask other people for help and for their advice and their thoughts, not being afraid to speak up for myself. I graduated college while working full time in 3 years, and I'm now in my first postgraduate job. A lot of people in the network that I met came from educators in my life, actually. My computer science teacher in high school was a huge point of connection for me because she'd been there for, I think, 20 years when I was in high school. So she knew a lot of people in the community, and she led a really strong program that helped us to not only understand how to code, but how to code things that people wanted to use. So by being dedicated to the class and kind of showing that I wanted to do more, I was able to make more connections through her. And then those connections continue to snowball. You meet one person and then they can introduce you to somebody else. Most of the time, all you have to do is ask and be curious and let that curiosity show kind of in person. So as a product manager, no 2 days are ever going to be the same. You really always get to work on something new. Today, I got to wake up a little bit late. I came into work in my office since I work from home, logged on to my computer. I got to go through and do some testing of a new feature we've been building in our software. I wrote some documentation about that feature. I met with my boss to talk about how we're going to ship this feature, how to communicate it, how to coordinate with other teams. And then I'll probably spend the rest of my day going through doing some more testing, meeting with our designer to understand what's next and design our next product that we're going to ship, and really work on communication and just keeping everybody in sync, which is at the end of the day, the biggest job of a product manager is communication. So I'm the kind of person that really loves a challenge. I love to like really have to use my brain and sit and think through something. And I think it's really rewarding once you get to that like aha moment at the end of a project. And product management is something that requires both technical and creative skills. It's kind of the meshing of design and like coding and engineering. So I really love when I get something that neither my designers or my developers like know how to attack or how to come at. I get to sit down and kind of be this translator, which I find to be really fun. And even though I'm probably not going to come up with a solution myself, I get to guide other people to work together and kind of come up with this new solution or a new idea as a team. I think that's really fun and fulfilling in my job. I'm starting out at a new job. Well, I did this past summer, and my team is about to ship our first major release, which is really huge for us. So I've been working for the past like 3 or 4 months with an engineer and a designer to completely redesign our software's permission system. So what that means is every time a user logs onto the software, they have a certain set of permissions that tells the software what they can and cannot see. We're completely redoing the way that piece of the software works, not only in the back end with kind of the server logic and all of the code, but also on the front end and how the user interacts with the software. So I, as the product manager, had to sit down with a lot of different people from marketing, from executive leadership, from design, and go and talk to our users and dig through research and come up with as much data and evidence as possible to first suggest that the way permissions were was a problem, and then also suggest a solution. So I'm kind of the advocate for new features as they come up, both to say, hey, we should fix this, but then also to say, hey, this is how we're going to fix this. This is what the future can look like. Once it gets past that point, it's also my responsibility as a product manager to work with the designers and engineers on my team to make sure the feature is built kind of how we saw. Now, of course, I'm working with tons of different people during this. It's a lot of coordination, it's a lot of communication, and it doesn't all just come from myself. But at the end of the day, a product manager is responsible for the end quality of any kind of new feature or piece of software that's released within their product. Working in technology has unlocked so many doors for me. It's really unreal to think about, especially how quickly it happens. One really big thing for me was that I was able to close on my first house about a year ago now. But something that was a lot more fun was when I got my current job this past summer. I celebrated with a little bit of a splurge and I went out and bought myself my dream car, which is an off-roading SUV. I'm going to be able to tow a camper with it. I go off-roading in the mountains all the time. It's just a ton of fun. It was one of those things that was just so exciting to see like my work bring more fun into my life. Throughout my career in tech, I've found myself probably more times than I should have sitting at a table with a lot of men that were much older than me. And I could just tell sometimes that I didn't quite fit into what was happening. And it's this kind of feeling where they sometimes are looking back at you. And at first, it's really hard to get through. I've been there a lot of times. I'm a member of the LGBTQ community. I express that openly, and that's definitely caused some pushback at times, depending on the audience. Being a woman in technology can be challenging at times, depending on the audience. But the best way I've found to not only just kind of power through and deal with it, but to overcome it and become like an active member of change is to unapologetically be myself 100% of the time. Be curious and speak up and ask questions. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day if you look a certain way, if you look like you don't understand, if you look in any kind of way that you're fearing, because all that matters at that table of people who might seem really scary is that you're getting what you need and that you feel confident in yourself. You're asking the questions you want to ask because you're going to be able to get up and walk away from that table, whether it be literally in that moment or figuratively by finding a new job or another place to be, somewhere else down the line. You'll be able to walk away with the knowledge that you gained. So just always be curious, stay true to yourself, and focus on what you need in that moment because it really will get you through it. Success to me is really a constantly moving target. It's something I redefine for myself almost every day sometimes as I think about, what it is I want in life, how I feel right now. It really depends. And I found that to be okay and something that works for me. But overall, I've taken a lot of time in my life to sit back and think less about what success looks like and more about just what I want. What does a happy version of me look like? And because I did that, early and often, and I revised that idea of like what does happiness, what does like being content look like? I was able to plan really accurately for my future. And that's really helped me to get to the point that I am at today. I was able to sit down and find like small objective steps to take. Even things just day to day, like today, in order to be successful, I need to empty out the dishwasher. Something I don't want to do, but it's something I have to do. And if I do it, I'll feel better. Finding those little wins every single day and letting them compound can take you to much, much bigger places. So when I think about the future, I know I'm successful and happy with where I am right now, but I also, like I said, know it's a moving target and I want to be happier every single day. I want to wake up every day and choose to do better and be better. So in the future, some of my goals are surrounding friends and family, building up a community and working on things kind of in my home, finding ways to be happy, outside of some of the tangible steps. That means day to day, focus on taking time to be with my partner. I focus on time to be with my dog, even, and just take that like more emotional time for myself. That even helps me to be more successful in my career because all of the happiness is tied together at the end of the day. The number one thing that's been important to me throughout my education and my career has been being curious and being completely unafraid to be curious. I think part of why I've been able to make a career in technology, even with a family that doesn't have connections there, is because I'm the kid who would raise their hand and ask about, what was going on in class. I was always the one to go up to the teacher at the end of class and ask for help or ask them to review something. Sometimes it wasn't even for the class. Sometimes it was just something I brought in on my own. And I'm really thankful that when I was younger, I had that level of kind of confidence to go up and just ask questions and say, hey, is there anything going on? I want to do something. Or, hey, I'm bored. Like, give me something else. I want to do more. I want to make more. Being able to speak up for yourself like that will get you to so many places. Even if you just start in small ways, you'll be able to see so many wins come from your life. And it'll really compound and add up very quickly. You'll kind of blink one day and suddenly realize like just how far it's gotten you. So be as curious as you can. Don't be afraid to be curious. Curiosity is probably your strongest weapon when you're going into a career in technology. Yeah, no, that'd be fantastic. I'd love to stay in touch. This kind of thing really means a lot to me because, like you picked up on, it is how I got started. It's like little things like this. So always happy to give back. And this has been a really wonderful experience. I'm really grateful you reached out. Take care. Bye-bye.